Okay, lost my view. All right. So Yoga Sutra starts with Atha, yeah, Yoga Anushasana, meaning I will now enunciate the knowledge of yoga. When some preparation has gone into it, right? And it's definitely a discipline, right? And he gave us several examples. One of the examples that he gave us was like brushing the teeth, right? Brushing the teeth was mom's rule in the beginning, but then as we realized the value of it, we decided to do it on our own. Yeah, we had the discipline to do it. Likewise, in yoga, there is some discipline that is required, because it may not be very comfortable to begin with, right? If there is something very pleasant, you don't really need discipline, right? If you want to like eat chocolate cake, there's not much discipline required there, yeah? But if you have to have like a bitter juice, right, which is good for you, good for your health, green juice, whatnot, then there is some discipline required, right? So likewise, yeah. Then he mentioned that the purpose of doing all this, doing yoga, is so that you can move inwards, right? Abiding in the nature of the seer. All the time, our senses are moving out, right? But this process is of moving inwards. And when we're not abiding in the nature of the seer, what happens? Does anybody remember?
The mind is in its 5 modulations. Oh my God.
That's right. The 5 modulations. What are the 5 modulations?
Memory. Oops.
Yes, memory is one of them. Yes.
Pramana.
Yes, pramana. What does that mean?
Perception. I mean, it's a proof experience.
That is correct. Yeah, wanting proof. Mind is constantly wanting proof. And there are 3 different types of pramana. Does anybody remember the 3 types?
Oh, like written?
Yes, inferences. Then something that's very obvious, right?
Shastra.
Yes. Something that's scripted, something that's very obvious, and
experience.
Experience. Yeah? 3 different types of wanting proof. So mind is caught up in wanting proof. Yeah. Somebody says, I love you. Yeah. Prove it. Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Second, what's the second modulation?
Viparya.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Wrong knowledge.
Yeah, it's caught up in wrong. We have our own notions of certain things, right? Wrong understanding. Sometimes we misunderstand people, and then we cook in our own minds. Yeah, so that is the second modulation. What's the third one?
Vikalpa.
Yes, what does vikalpa mean?
Imagination.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello. Both are correct. And there are 2 types that he mentioned. What are the 2 types? One is good, right? Your fantasies. You fantasize something, ideal situation, right? I won the lottery, or I will win the lottery. Yeah. And the second type is of baseless fears. Yeah. Then, as Jane mentioned, there is memory, right? You go down memory lane. That's one of the modulations of the mind. Yeah. Far from being in the present moment. And what's the last one?
Sleep.
Sleep. It goes off to sleep. Okay. So Ben, how do you come out of these 5 modulations? He gave us 2 ways of getting out of these modulations. Does anybody remember?
Abhyasa and Vairagya.
Yeah. And how should your abhyasa means what? Practice, right?
Right.
Your own daily practice. Yeah. And having a sense of dispassion. Okay. How should your abhyasa or your practice be?
Did,
Continuous.
Yes. Nirantarya. What does that mean?
With dedication.
Continuous.
Yes, it needs to be continuous without a break. Yeah. And it takes a dirghakal, takes a long time. Yeah. So you have to be patient with it. You can't say, okay, I did my Kriya today and nothing is happening. Right? You have to be patient with it. You have to keep doing it. All right.
Are you saying that it should be consistent over time, or that the practice itself should be long?
No, it needs to be consistent.
Okay.
You need to be consistent without a break. Yeah. So you take it on for like maybe 2 days and then miss it for another 2 days and then take it up for next 2 days. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We were discussing when this was happening that in one of the tapes, he also mentioned why it's so important, because our cells are renewed on a daily basis, right? So we miss out on the ones that, if we miss our practice, we miss out on oxygenating them on that particular day. Yeah, revitalizing them on that particular day. Okay. Then he went on to talk about different samadhis. I don't know if you want to go into that. It's going to take some time to go over the different samadhis, the ultimate equilibrium, but we can quickly review it if you want. You want to review like all the different samadhis? Okay. So he mentioned that being in nature is a form of samadhi, right? Prakriti laya. So you become content with nature, just being in nature, right? Your worries drop. He gave us an example of environmentalists. Yeah, their life revolves around it. They get like completely immersed in it, right? And then there were different, how do you get into that state? With a lot of faith, right? With valor, right? And if you have those qualities, Shraddha, Virya, then it's easy for you to get into that state of samadhi. Yeah. He said even the remembrance of whatever it is that you like say you're very passionate about nature and you're thinking about the waves of the sea, just the remembrance of that particular scenery, takes you into samadhi, takes you into that state of equilibrium. And then he talks about what is the quality of the person who can attain a perfect posture. He said, Tivra Samvega Nam Asana, meaning what? For somebody who has like
single-pointed
passion.
focus.
Say that again.
Single-pointed focus and passion.
Yeah,
to achieve
passion.
it.
Like you have this desire. You want to like get to that state of perfection. Yeah, you have this intense desire. For them, it is easy. Yeah, they're very passionate about it. Yeah, and
Says you can't be loosey-goosey.
yes,
Says
yeah,
you can't
you
be
can't be
loosey.
somebody who's like, oh, I'll practice my asana one day and then 2 days later I'll do it again. Yeah, but then whatever flexibility you've gained, you lose it. And again, you're starting from square one. So somebody who's very passionate, no, I'm going to move from here, and you slowly progress as you keep practicing. Yeah, intense longing will make it easy. Then he talked about 3 types of people. Some who are very disciplined, some who are not very disciplined. And he said the results are attained based upon the efforts they put in, right? Somewhere, if you're lukewarm, somewhere in the middle, very disciplined, not very disciplined, whatever the results come in due course for them. Then he went to talk about Ishwar Pranidhana, coming into that state of devotion, right? Devotion also leads to Samadhi. Okay? Then he also talked about Purush Vishesha, the supreme ruler or divine, is untouched. He describes the quality of the divine. Says this person is untouched by misery or impacts of karma, fruit of action. Yeah. In that state of consciousness, they have the seed. For example, the example he gave was that of a library, like sort of, you have the key to the library. So it's kind of, so you can read any book. You gain the knowledge of anything and everything you want because you have the key to the library. So this person who's away from all misery, fruit of action, is sort of that person who has the key to the library. Like the seed of wisdom is in this person. Beyond time. And this person is beyond time and can be addressed by Om. Then he talked
He's
about
actually describing he's defining God, Purusha
Yes.
Vishesha or God. And
yes.
in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he's defined as Om.
Okay. Then he went to talk about Pratyaksha Chetana, witness consciousness. When you are in witness consciousness, even then you can attain Samadhi. Yeah, and it starts to blossom with Om. And the obstacles, you remember the 9 obstacles? The 9 obstacles does not touch this person. What are the 9 obstacles? Should we review it quickly? Yeah.
Exaggeration.
The 9 obstacles, one of them being Vyadhi, illness in the body, right?
Yeah.
When you're sick, you don't want to go and sit and do your Kriya, right? Or you
Right.
don't want to do your asanas. It's an obstacle on the path, right? For a yogi when they become sick. One is illness in the body, then Jnana.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Kiranji?
What did you say?
The second one, second obstacle, Sthana, illness in the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're feeling emotionally overwhelmed. There is something going on that you're dealing with. At that point, you're not too motivated to sit on the mat, come on the mat, right? That's another obstacle on the path of a yogi. Then samshaya, doubt, right? Doubts are of 3 kinds he had mentioned. Doubting yourself.
Doubting the practice, doubting the teacher.
Yes. Yeah. Those are the 3 doubts that will not allow you to sink in deeper into your samadhi. Then
Laziness, alaksya.
yes, Radhika explains this very well. Alasya, pramada.
Yes.
Carelessness and laziness.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good, but I'll still postpone it till later. The chocolate cake is definitely more appealing.
Then going on the mat. Exactly. Yeah. So pramada, carelessness, and alasya, laziness. You just don't want to do it. Yeah. You're lazy about it. Avirati. No say over the senses. Yeah. Then Bhranti Darshan.
Yes.
Hallucination.
Hallucination.
That is also an obstacle. Yeah, if you're hallucinating. Then Alabdha Bhumi Katva. Cannot attain. So despite the effort, yeah, not able to attain. It is another obstacle in the path of a yogi. Anavasthi Tattva. meaning they attain it, but it doesn't stay with them. Yeah, they attain it for a short duration, but then it sort of goes away. Yeah, the benefits goes away. They are not able to maintain that state. Okay, and with the 9 obstacles come 4 consequences.
Right.
When you're caught up with these 9 obstacles, what are the consequences? How does the yogi feel when these obstacles come?
Sad.
Yeah, the yogi is super sad. Yeah, not able to do what they're supposed to do. So dukkha, sadness. Then
Daurmanasya, bitterness.
yeah,
What is this? I'm doing it in spite of whatever. Bitterness.
that is right. Bitterness. Yeah. Then
Angami jetva, tremors in the body. And shwasha prashwasha,
yeah.
erratic breathing.
Yes. Yeah. Irregular breathing. Again, to prevent this, where do we go?
Practice.
Yeah. Abhyasa. Practice. Yeah. Ekatattva abhyasa. Doing just one thing, one pointed attention to your practice.
Yeah, he says no multitasking. Be focused.
Yes, yes. Okay, then he went to talk about keeping a pleasant mind. Chitta prasadam. How to keep a pleasant mind? How should the yogi keep a pleasant mind? There are 4 different attitudes that he suggested, yeah, or Patanjali suggests. What are the 4 different attitudes?
And he also says these attitudes have to be applied to the 4 different types of people we normally encounter.
Yes, yes. So what are they?
Friendly people, maitri, friendliness towards people who are happy.
Be part of nature. Is that?
No,
It's the type of people and
4
our
different
interactions.
Oh, okay.
towards different people that you meet in life. You may meet some people who are very friendly in nature, right? And then some people who are like not so happy, right? So he's suggesting different attitudes towards different types of people so that you don't lose your equilibrium. Yeah,
Yeah.
you still stay in the state of samadhi. How should you? Or pleasant state of mind. Yeah. So maitri, friendliness towards people
Happy
who are
people.
happy. Yeah.
Compassion towards those who are unhappy people.
Unhappy, compassion towards unhappy people. Then
Mudita, or feeling happy with those and feeling proud and encouraging and supporting those who are doing good work.
yes.
And upeksha towards those or ignoring those, staying far from those doing bad work.
Yep, that is right. Yeah, you ignore those people. That's how your mind doesn't get caught up and it remains pleasant. Then he also said mind is also managed by pranayam, yeah, controlling of the breath, or mind is with any sense object as it has the ability to perceive subtle, not just gross. Yeah. Example, child eating lollipop. Yeah. Have you noticed a child eating lollipop? It's in a state of samadhi, sort of, right? Like so engrossed, so happy. The sense of taste is so dominant at that point. And this little kid has gone into the state of samadhi eating the lollipop, right? So he said senses are there for pleasure as well as liberation.
Liberation.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever you lay your attention on will grow. Then he gave the example of listening to music. Like music is also bring some people meditation. They go into a state of meditation by just listening to music. Or going into meditation on things that you like. Yeah. Some people love clothes, love jewelry, right? So that their senses are attracted, in olden days, even now, if you go to a temple, the deity is adorned with all these beautiful clothing, jewelry. Then there is prasad for our taste buds, right? There is sprinkling of the water for our skin, sense of touch. There is incense for
Smell.
our nose, so all the senses are captured, and then noise of the bell, so all the senses are taken care of.
And what happens when all those senses are taken care of? You're one pointed there, right? Mind is not wandering here and there. That's the idea.
Yeah. Oh, I love this tape. There was a tape on something called Mind in Samapati. Does anybody remember? The examples that he gave in this tape were like super, super cool. So he gave that. So he said that when your mind becomes like crystal, when you are in the state of meditation, state of samadhi, your mind becomes like a crystal. You know how crystal like reflects light, right? But yet it doesn't hold light. It doesn't get tainted by it, right? It just reflects it. Then he gives an example of rear view mirror, right? When we're driving, so many different cars, impressions come onto this mirror, but nothing, the mirror doesn't hold on to any of the impressions, right? So likewise, your mind becomes like that, which is called the state of Samapati, that it doesn't hold on to any impressions, whether it's good, bad, pleasant, unpleasant. Oh, then he went to explain different types of Samapati. Yeah. Savitarka Samapati is when you have question, who am I? Nirvitarka is when memory is sharp and remembers that your life on this planet is total of all lifetimes. Then subtler are nirvichara, with or without presence or anubhuti. Senses perceive subtle and gross world through tanmatra. Sometimes you come out of sabij samadhi with a seed of impression or intuition of causal world. Ritumbhara, mistakes don't happen. This person who is in this samadhi, Ritumbhara, the mistakes just ceases to happen in their presence. Yeah. All the latent impressions override the impression. He gave the example, say if this person is addicted to something, say, yeah. But because their meditation is so deep, it's easier for them to just drop their addiction. Yeah. And the last is nirbij, that comes through only grace, but lasts maximum of 3 years. You have to come out of it to take care of your body. Yeah, because this person is like, goes into this samadhi and does not care for food, water, whatnot, and is able to somehow sustain themselves for 3 years. But then they have to come out to take care of the body. Okay, that's the end of Samadhi. Now comes Sadhana chapter, practice. To become free from misery and go towards Samadhi, practice Kriya Yoga. Everyone practices Kriya Yoga? Yeah. All right. So then he says, 3 things are required to practice Kriya Yoga. What's the first one? Tapas is needed. Forbearance of opposite. Willingly taking what mind rebels. Yeah. Sometimes mind does not want to sit in 3-stage pranayam, but you take on that willingly, saying that, no, it is my tapas time. I'm going to do it, come what may. Then the second is swadhyaya. That is study of intellect and realize that all your emotions are play of angels. Yeah, sometimes you may be feeling anxious. There's probably desire to pick up the phone or do something else. Yeah, and then you just tell yourself you're doing steps. At the same time, you're also doing sort of your self-study, think that, oh, this thought is coming up. There's this urge to pick up the phone. Yeah, there's this urge to, turn the TV on, whatever the urge may be. Yeah. And you say, okay, it is the play of the angels. I was watching actually a Disney movie, Inside Out, based on the exact same concept. Number 3, Ishwar Pranidhan.
Before we proceed, this week, everybody's homework is to watch Inside Out. Okay.
Ishwar Pranidhan. For some, it is fruit of action. This is so nicely explained. Yeah. Surrendering comes very easy to some people, and people who are very intellectual, it doesn't come that easily, right? Isn't that so true? And he said, because it is the fruit of their previous action. That's why they're able to surrender easily. And some people have to practice. Okay, then he went to talk about causes of misery. What causes misery in our lives? What are those things that cause misery?
Avidya, ignorance, asmita. What does it mean, Neha?
Feeling of I.
The I-ness, minus.
When they're caught up in I. What about me? So ignorance.
What about me? I think it's what about me, and it's also I-ness and minus, right? Oh, my kids. That sort of the reeling that goes on. Okay, that asmita, okay.
Yep.
And then raga dvesha, likes and dislikes. Abhinivesha, fear of death.
Yep. Yeah, those are the causes of misery.
Yeah. And the word is kleshas. These are the 5 kleshas.
Okay, so this one was a really amazing tape also. It was like an aha moment for me. So he said, little bit of fear, little bit of avidya is needed for you to sustain your body. He gave us an example of Swami Vivekananda on this chapter, if you remember. He
Swami
said
Ramakrishna.
that
Swami Ramakrishna.
Vivekananda. He had this purpose of bringing knowledge to the West. And as soon as he attained this, he left his body. Yeah. But if there is a little bit of ignorance, yeah, then he could have sustained his body. Yeah. His mind was like completely off, like he didn't have any avidya. Yeah. It was like an acquired saint.
Neha, here doesn't he also give the example of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, where he has that little attachment, the craving for fish or something like that?
Yes, I remember that.
That's how he sustained his body for this thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So if there is little bit of avidya, little bit of obsession still in yourself, then you can sustain the body. Otherwise, the body leaves as soon as the purpose is achieved. Yeah. Isn't that like something that we all come with a purpose, and if the purpose is achieved, the body will take off. But if there is some avidya, some ignorance, some obsession, something left, then it will keep the body, sustain the body for more.
So Neha, we might want to say it as once the purpose is achieved, the body is dropped.
Yes.
We take off, body is dropped.
Yes. Then he said, all impressions will manifest in time, just like the seed. For example, the seed of coriander sprouts in little time, while the seed of mango will take a little bit longer. Karma brings birth, span of life, and enjoyment, can be managed by meditation. Devotion and grace. Wise think all as misery, because there is nothing without consequence. Misery can be avoided. Then he went to talk about Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. That is the
I have to
purpose of
say the verse. It's Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekina. Vivekina is that intellect, recognizing when the intellect recognizes that everything anyway, all of these sensory pleasures that I am so engaged in all the time is ultimately only going to give me sorrow. That is that Viveka. And then obviously the awareness comes and you don't do it.
Yeah. And he reiterates here again, senses have a purpose, enjoyment and liberation. In nature, there is balance. Darkness comes after light. Senses get attracted to something for a short time, then it gets inert. It is true, right? Whether it's food, sex, whatever it is, the senses get tired after some time. Yeah, there is activity. There are three things that he was mentioning, if you remember from that tape. He said there is activity and then they become inert. It's luminary for little duration. There is activity and then it becomes inert. Yeah, those three things are the nature of senses. One can eat a certain amount. Yeah. We all know that, right? It's like even if it's the best chocolate cake in the whole wide world, you can only eat a certain amount of it. This was very nice. This example of water. He says, I think the sutra mentioned that there are four, I've written it down somewhere. Yeah, four qualities of gunas: specific, unspecific, with a mark, and without a mark. So for example, there is a temperature range in which the water remains water, right? And within that range, it could be warm, little warm, lukewarm, cold, whatnot. But if it goes beyond a certain temperature, either it will become ice or it will become vapor, right? There's a certain range to anything and everything. Where we can't see, a cat can see. Where a cat can't see, an owl can see, right? So everything is relative. He gave us several examples on this. Scenery remains reality with or without bifurcation. You can say all is atom or all is matter. Silence is meaningful for those who talk. Ignorance is engaging with scenery. Yeah. So we are, once again, remember the very first tape. He talks about, abiding in the nature of the seer. So he's reiterating, bringing all that back. Ignorance is engaging with scenery, not getting caught up in one opinion. All is relative. Yeah. So when you get into an argument with someone, just remember that everything is relative. Like water, how hot the water is for you, it may be lukewarm. For somebody else, it may be hot, right? It's all relative. All right, next tape. There is conflict in gunas as well, and elements. Without air, fire cannot exist, but too much air can extinguish fire. Yeah, so they are in conflict, yet they are sort of interdependent on each other, right? This tape was also very beautiful. He said, no position is permanent, right? When you're asked to quit, sometimes you don't behave normally. You think of jeopardizing systems in pain of leaving. You get mad on subordinates, thinking they don't respect you. It's all in your mind. When we identify ourselves with some position, when it leaves you miserable. So X position, ex-wife, ex-husband, ex-sportsman, yeah, when that status changes, there is a consequence to it, which is sadness, right? He said this particular state of sadness, he used the term tap dukha. Seed of memory is causing the pain, yeah, makes you unhappy. And sometimes you get in the habit of staying in that state of unhappiness. Why? Because you are in this state of unhappiness and people come to console you. You get attention, and then that forms a habit. Yeah. So some people just stay in that state of unhappiness. They don't come out of it as such. Okay? Yeah, so that's what exactly. You enjoy being sad. Sadness draws attention, and that becomes habit. Only you can come out of it. No one can help. Pleasant or unpleasant impressions, samskaras, cause misery. Fame, money, position, relations. Knowing this, you come. Purpose of yoga, come out. Purpose of yoga is to stop misery. Yeah? Forgetfulness is cause of misery. Sometimes we forget that this is giving us misery, right? This particular state is giving us misery. You forget this knowledge and you start identifying yourself with qualifications, roles, your goodness. All these are formula for anger, and you start hating others. Nobody is cause of your misery. It is your own avidya, ignorance. Self-righteousness are hard to communicate with. Yeah, when we get in that stage, right? I am right. Nobody can communicate with us, isn't it? Isn't that true? Like when you come in that state, this is right. I am right. Yeah, they can give you like 5 different examples, but you can't. No, I know I'm right. You'll find a different way of proving yourself. Yeah. All right. Next step, sadhana 6. Scenery includes senses. Yeah. So we're the seer. There is scenery, and they're putting senses in the scenery. Their purpose is experience and liberation. I think this is the 3rd time he's reiterating this. Yeah, the purpose is experience and liberation. These are the 3 qualities of the senses. It appeals. Yeah, there is activity in it, and then it becomes inert. All senses, sex, taste, have some qualities. 4 qualities of the gunas are specific, unspecific, with a mark, and without a mark. Seer is like the mirror. Self is soul of scenery. Organs, that is eyes, nose, function due to the soul. when you realize you are not the body, body is like a pebble tied to balloon. Which is so true. If the soul leaves, none of the organs would function, right? They would lose their purpose. When avidya is removed, then kaivalya is achieved. What is kaivalya? Only oneness. Yeah, oneness. There's only one thing that exists. Right now, all this time, he's been talking about the scenery and the seer. So there is duality here, right? But now he's saying kaivalya, meaning the seer and the scenery are just one. That happens only when avidya is removed. When engaged in scenery, jiva remains in ignorance. When they remain in himself or herself, that is kaivalya. You see people as part of you. Scenery is not different from the seer. I remember this. He said, Adi Shankaracharya says, don't accept yoga as they see seer and scenery as separate. Vedanta contradicts yoga. Dispassionate. Be dispassionate. Discard everything else. Everything is one. Oneness with everyone. When you come into that state, your mind is clear. Your intellect becomes sharp, and it brings you to liberation. This can happen only when you are devoid of kleshas. Some schools say there are many levels, but Patanjali says there are 7 levels of pragya. Pragya meaning awareness. Yeah? He didn't expound on the 7 levels of pragya, but he briefly said dreaming, waking, all of those stages. There are 7 stages, and he said he'll expound on it some other time. And this, when you can go through these 7 levels through practicing the 8 limbs of yoga. When you practice the 8 limbs of yoga, wisdom dawns, intuition comes. Yeah? And what are the 8 limbs of yoga, folks? Yama. What does yama mean?
Restraint.
Rules of engagement with outside world.
Yeah. So yama is sort of your social ethics, right? Yamas are your social ethics. Niyamas are self-discipline. Yeah, something that your own ethics, I guess, personal ethics, right? Then
Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi.
all right. Then
Ahimsa,
he went to
ahimsa, santosha.
yes, those are yamas. He will expound on it a little further into the tape, but he talks a little more about he talks a little more about just about the 8 limbs. He said they don't come one after the other. These are not 7 or 8 steps. Some people feel if you don't have yamas, niyamas, you can't learn dhyana. But that's not true. Example, prisoners can't get knowledge of asana or pranayama. You remember, he was giving this example to us that when he started the prison program, many of the yogis were upset with him because, the first thing that yama niyamas they talk about is the ethics is like, okay, do not steal, and then these people are in prison, committed major crimes, and he's giving them the knowledge of pranayam and meditation. They were like, Shri Shri, how can you do that? And Shri Shri says, because they are limbs of yoga. They do not come one after the other. It's possible that when they practice pranayam and meditation, the yamas and niyamas will develop for them. Okay.
And he gave a beautiful example here. He gave the example of Valmiki. Remember how a little while ago, when we were discussing Samadhi, different types of Samadhi, somebody was in, what was that? Sabija Samadhi, right? Or Nirbija Samadhi, I don't know which one, Neha, where you can be in there for 3 years. So Valmiki's story is like that. Valmiki was a robber. And, he gets this, I'll tell you the story some other time, I think, because we're running out of time. But Valmiki's story is very, very beautiful. And how just by saying, chanting a japa, he does japa on Ramanama. And it is said that when he got this mantra diksha, right? Or when he was given this mantra of Rama, he couldn't even say Rama. He says, Mara, Mara, Mara. And then that became into the japa of when you keep saying Mara, 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 then it becomes Rama, the sound Rama comes out, right? And then apparently he just went into Samadhi and that's it. There was this ultimate transformation. And this person became the famous Valmiki who wrote the Ramayana. For those of you who know the it's one of the history books, as we call it, itihasas. Very profound. So
yeah. Okay. So I'm
Neha,
just going to
time
finish
check.
the rest of this chapter, and then we can call it a day. Yeah, we can take up there are at least 3 more chapters that we have to discuss. We'll discuss it next time and then watch the tape also. Okay.
Sounds
because
good.
It's already 6:30. Yeah.
Come prepared. Whatever you, I'm going to stop recording first and then I'll do my talking.